We're live and recording now. All right, everybody, we're here with Get a Load of This Trucking podcast, where we want to bring value to the trucking industry, trucking fleet owners, owner operators, truck drivers, aspiring business owners, and really anyone that's surrounding the trucking industry that we can bring value to and insight to. I want to introduce myself. My name is Cameron Pechia. I'm one of the founders of the podcast, also an owner of Valley Trucking Insurance. And I've got with us today, we've got Thomas. Thomas, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Thomas Comstock, insurance agent within the trucking industry and specialize in taking care of my clients as best as possible and hoping that this can bring some value to both me as an educational piece as well as some insight to our clients and other people out there in the world to make their businesses better.
Love it. And then Ryan?
Yeah, I'm Ryan Young, also an insurance producer with Valley Trucking Insurance. I guess founder of this podcast as well. It's the first day. We're just really hoping that we can hit this off right and provide a lot of value to anybody listening, and especially obviously the trucking industry. But I imagine it'll bleed out into other areas of life as well. So.
No, I love it. And I'm super excited for our guest today. We've got Kyle Janke on the line with us, and I'll give a second for Kyle to introduce himself. But prior to doing that, we always want to start with a little lighthearted question. Since we obviously are surrounding and focused with truckers or logging company, I know you're up in the Northwest, so you get a variation of big rig folks. What would your CB handle be if you were on the road, Kyle?
A CB handle? That's a great question. I have no idea, to be honest with you. So I'll let you guys choose that for me. So
I don't know if you want us to.
Okay,
do that.
maybe by the end of
That's a good idea.
We'll loop back by the end of the podcast with a different one. So okay, let's jump into another question that'll be I guess just as valuable. If you were on the road, and I guess really with what you do, what's your go-to music?
You know, to be honest with you, my go-to music is country music. To be honest, that's just I was born in the country, I was raised in the country, so that's my go-to music. So,
Nice, some Hank, old school, or are you going new?
George Strait is my man, so I'm gonna stick with that. So
okay, there we go. Well, maybe we'll come back with a CB handle that has to do with country and something by the end of the podcast. So.
How about that? How about this? Check yes or no. There we go. How about that?
Check yes or no. There you go. That might get a lot of action at the truck stops. We'll see. We'll figure out how that goes. So I'm excited to have Kyle on. Kyle, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about your background, what got you to where you're at, what you do, and kind of your start. We'll turn it over to you for a minute.
So I'm Kyle Janke. I'm the senior business banker for P1FCU. That's Potlatch Financial Credit Union. We kind of service the whole state of Washington, basically the whole state of Idaho, and then 8 counties in Oregon. So we just emerged with another credit union. So now we're going to be servicing more of the southern Idaho area, so like Boise, that area. So we merged with Gem Financial Credit Union. They're a very small credit union down south of us here in North Idaho. So my background a little bit is I've been in banking for 12 years. I kind of started working my way towards, as a teller, and then worked my way through management, kind of through that whole corporate ladder. And to be honest with you, I kind of got tired of working for the big corporate banks, and I really wanted to go towards more of a community aspect or community bank aspect. So I started my adventure with the community side with INB, and then of course they got bought out by First Interstate. So then I shift gears. I wanted to go to more of a credit union where I could service our members, to make sure that we're putting them in a great financial background picture to really help them succeed financially, but also making sure the business is succeeding financially as well, because that's really huge for me. It is making sure that business is performing well. So when they do come back to me for other loans or other ventures, that we're able to help them out and have that overall picture of how that business is performing. So that's kind of my background. I got out of retail and then went into more of the business side a couple of years ago. And to be honest with you, I'm not going to go back to retail. It's all business. It's all business related. That's all I'm going to be doing. And I really enjoy when I came to P1FCU. I didn't know really what their niche was, and their niche is loggers, farmers, truck drivers, big equipment, even commercial, of course, but they really like those mom and pop shops. They really like those people that are hard-nosed workers that are on the ground working hard. And I really enjoy that because that's my background. My dad, raised me by himself, and he worked from basically sun up to sundown and had a ranch, but also went into town and worked too. So I really enjoy working with those type of business clients, or those business members. So.
That's great. So you got the hard work ethic from the background and upbringing. Now I know banking and finance obviously is education heavy, at least early on. You went to Eastern Oregon University, correct? And actually, you, if I recall, started playing basketball, average double digits as a post, correct?
That is correct. That is correct. I don't know why you're bringing up old memories. I love it now, but takes me back to the good old days, I guess. So.
Yeah. So, and you got a major in finance, or what did you specialize in?
So basically, my degree is a bachelor's degree in business administration and finance, and then I actually have a minor in physical education. So.
Okay.
If the banking world didn't work out to me, I can go back to be, maybe look at being a PE teacher and a basketball coach or a baseball coach if it doesn't pan out, I guess.
There we go. And I imagine it translates well to working with your clients because you can help educate, walk them through pitfalls, provide value in a way that potentially other folks couldn't. And obviously, we all know working in the industries that we are in and as a business owner, how important banking and finance and the relationship side of things with your banking or bank or credit union or financial institution is. So, man, that's awesome. That's cool. Ryan, do you have anything to chime in here on that?
Yeah, actually, I have kind of an interesting question. So obviously, being in the financial side of things, and then having a background in sports and physical education, are there any skills that you would say have like transferred from that background that you think have been valuable in what you're doing, and I mean, I guess providing value to people as well?
Yeah, I think the big one is communication. I think that's huge. Making sure that you're communicating with our member. We call them members here at the credit union. So making sure you're really communicating with them of what that process looks like. Why are we asking these questions? Why are we collecting this information? Giving them the resources to fall back on if they need to. So I think it's communication. B, it's working together. It's not just a one-way street. I need to work with them and they need to work with me, right? To really come together to make this loan work and to make this relationship work. Cultivate it within. The other one, I think it kind of goes back to work ethic, right? Getting out there and, I guess my thing would be is driving that business in, right? It's not going to come to me. I have to go get it, right? So there's that piece. But I think too, the two main one with the schooling, but also the basketball background, I think honesty, communication, and teamwork are the big ones that relate to what I do and how I help my members succeed financially.
Excellent, excellent. Now, who's your favorite ball player of all time?
Mine?
Yeah.
Oh my! So I grew up a Supersonic fan. So
Oh yeah.
I'm a Death or Shrimp fan. To be honest with you, a Gary Payton guy. But to be honest with you, I'm only 36, but watching clips of Larry Bird, I think and watching him play and just who he was as a player, I think Larry Bird probably is one of my. I got top 5, but I also can't count out John Stockton. He's a local kid, from Spokane, so I can't
Warehouse
count him out as well. So
it's kind of funny that you bring up John Stockton and Larry Bird because everybody loved them as basketball players, but they were like hard-nosed, aggressive, not really the friendliest guys on the court.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Is there any sort of comparison?
Business on the court, or business off the court, yeah.
Yeah, get shit done.
Yeah, so I had a follow-up question about your comment about working with commercial only. I'm in the same boat. I used to work retail stuff, and I made the transition to commercial exclusively as well. My question basically is, what was your reasoning behind making that transition, and what do you find so much more appealing with the commercial aspect of the business rather than the retail?
Yeah, to be honest with you, on the retail side, I got to the point where I was and don't get me wrong, I was babysitting people's personal issues, and I was actually taking care of my branch and the members that we're servicing. So there was that, but I think the type of person that I am, I'm a go-getter. How I can speak to my business members, how I can relate to them. I think that just spoke volume to me and why I wanted to transition out of retail and get into the commercial realm of things. And so that's the main reason why I just got tired of babysitting people, to be honest with you, and then B, just how I spoke and how I operated and how I took care of my business members. Even though I was on the retail side, I took more care of them than I did on the retail side of the consumer side. So that's why I wanted to transition over to the commercial, because of those two reasons.
And I'm guessing in the realm that you're at, especially location-wise, with lack of cell service in certain areas and whatnot, you're showing up on site or you're going to them, I'm guessing wearing work boots, not a tie, not a suit and tie, you know what I mean, and willing to get your hands dirty and visit with them on their level. Is that true? A lot of face-to-face interaction?
I mean, 100%. You know, I'm one of those guys where I'm going to check into my businesses probably 6 months or maybe 3 to 6 months each time. And the reason why, because our financial picture changes so often, and I want to make sure that they understand that I'm going to be there for them. So if something does change, they can reach out to me, or knowing that I'm going to be there to help them out. So I mean, shoot, I was up in Tonasket about a month ago in Tonasket, Washington, on a ranch farm. He has 500 head of cattle, and I was in there with my boots and you know, with horse manure, you know, talking to the business owner about, you know, how we can help them streamline their business and how to help them with, you know, bring that relationship over and what goes involved, or what's involved with moving a whole relationship over to P1FCU.
Yeah, I'd love for you to touch a little bit more on the relationship aspect, especially coming out of something like a pandemic such as COVID, with all the pitfalls and the regulations, and you got stimulus stuff. You got a lot of business shutting down and closing doors. Fortunately, we're surrounded by a great industry which kept America moving during the pandemic. In fact, I think in a lot of ways and aspects that trucking picked up. The appreciation, most definitely, for truckers, farming, ranching, all those maybe unappreciated industries really shine through. But walk us through pretty much the value of having that advisor such as yourself in the relationship, when either starting out on your journey with finances and getting lending and approval to an established person.
You know, it kind of goes back to what I talked about previously with the and working together, is, you know, really sitting down with them. I like to ask them, you know, what's important to you? You know, what are you getting currently at your financial institution? What aren't you getting? You know, and then what I like to do then is, once I ask a lot of like the open-ended questions and getting to know them personally, but also on the business side of things, then I can actually tailor our products and services to them and list it out on basically on a sheet or a piece of paper of what type of accounts we have. This is what you're going to be getting. This is the type of loans I would recommend doing based on our conversation. So really just kind of, I mean, the first probably hour sitting down with me is going to be just asking financial questions, you know, getting their overall picture, kind of like when they go to a financial advisor, right? We got to get this whole picture before we just can put them into a product, because most places where you go to, they already know, we're going to open up a checking account, we're going to open up a savings account, we're going to do a credit card, yada, 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 yada. But that maybe doesn't really tailor to what their needs are. Their maybe needs could be not a credit card, but a business line of credit, or maybe it's a refinance on their Kenworth truck, right? Or their trailer or something like that, right? To lower their interest rate and lower their payments, right? Because maybe 6 months ago, they had a couple things come up on their house that they need to repair, you know? And so really just really understanding that financial picture of what they want, what they need, and then having me then apply our products and services to help them financially. So there's that. That's for more of a new, but also that is for existing businesses and members as well, you know? So those two really are Tam and Tam, is asking those questions, opening questions, getting to know them financially, get to know their picture, you know, of where they're at financially as well. Then we can tailor those products and services to what their needs are, not what my needs are. So,
yeah, awesome. And I think with your background too, on more of a corporate level and then transitioning to more of that credit union focus, I think you would most likely bring a lot of skill set from all those past experiences that you can lean on and draw upon. Now, if someone doesn't have a business plan, let's say they're not super savvy, they're new to the realm, let's say they were a company guy, bought a truck, or were looking at buying a truck, that's where this process comes in heavily, right? And if they don't have a
Right.
business plan, what do you do with them?
You know, really kind of outline kind of what our, because every financial, every bank credit union is a little different, right? Some offer startup businesses, some don't. One P1FC, I'll be honest with you, we don't have a program just yet that offers startup businesses for basically startup businesses, right? We are working towards that. We are working towards a 7A program, an SBA 7A program for that. But as of right now, we don't have that. So really what I do in that instance, I kind of just guide them, tell them the reasons why we don't have the program. And then we actually sit down, we actually put a business plan together. So actually then when they can take it to a financial institution that has it, so they can actually see then where, what they're going to be doing, what that business plan looks like, because then they can submit that. And that's going to help them out tremendously to be able to get approved for a loan, either now or maybe within a year or less. So,
Man, I think that's amazing, and I think it's something that can get lost in today's world where you're going to bring value regardless if this person's a client right now, maybe future, but you just want to help them.
right.
And that's amazing.
Yeah, it's
Awesome.
huge. And I was just going to feed off what Cam was saying as well, that I find in our industry that we come across a lot of people who don't exactly know what they want or don't really have a plan and really, maybe find it overwhelming. I don't try to pry too much into their emotional mindset at the time, but I guess kind of maybe go into detail on how your experience with that when you find people who don't necessarily have a plan or don't know what they're doing, what you can kind of offer them to go forward. Obviously, especially in the trucking industry, since that's what we're catering to, but I guess with all your clients.
So when I have a business that comes in and doesn't really have a business plan, doesn't know what to expect, it kind of goes back to what I previously said when it's asking those questions, getting to when I say open-ended questions, that's actually getting to the nitty-gritty of what they're trying to accomplish. Not now, but a year from now, or 2 years from now, or 3 years from now, right? And so it really starts by just asking those questions. What is your financial plan in 3 years? What is your plan in 5 years? Where do you see your business growing? How are you going to get there, right? So really putting them on this path to get them to what their long-term goal is, right? So it starts with a short-term goal. Okay, what's your short-term goal? What does that look like to you? Well, this is what it's going to look like to me. Okay, so let's start there, and then let's work our way to a year one, and then our year two. Because as you know, most places, the first 2 years they struggle in business, right? And a lot of times, if they don't hit that 2-year mark, they either are shutting doors down, right? So getting them to that 2-year mark, okay, really show them what they need to do to how they accomplish, right? And then after that 2-year mark is when they're kind of going to be off and running, and then they really don't need my advice or my help until there's maybe a loan opportunity or something down the road, right? So I really focus on the first 2 years of startup businesses because it's really important to them, because as we know in our industry, the first years are really important to them to make sure they are longevity, I guess I would say more longevity than after that 2-year mark. So it's really just sitting down with them, putting a plan together, a business plan together, from a checking and a deposit standpoint, and then working on their maybe it's credit, right? What do you need to do to help with their credit to really get that improved, right? So it's hard to explain without being on a piece of paper, but it's really just sitting down with our members and putting a business plan together and outlining things that they need to do for the first 2 years and being a business. So.
It's pretty clear, really, because obviously everybody's situation is different. So I think that's a pretty good answer, honestly. And do you ever get any pushback with some of these questions, especially when you get into the more personal? I know sometimes people hate talking about credit. People might feel like you're asking them too many invasive questions about their business plan. What
You
do
know,
you?
yeah, there is pushback. There's always going to be some pushback, but I always, before I even get started, I kind of have my introductory, phrase I say is, you know, me as your business banker, my job is really to help you personally, but also financially. So I'm going to ask you some in-depth questions that maybe might touch, your heart a little bit, or it's maybe invasive, but that's help me understand your financial picture better. So, and then I kind of lead into more. That's why it's working as a team. This is a me and you, right? It's not just me. This is not just you. This is working together as a team. So there is some pushback and like, why are you asking that question? Why do you need to know that? Kind of thing. But I just go back to, well, the reason why I'm asking that question is to get to know you a little more, but also to help you understand, where you're at financially, but also your business plan too, right? Because we got to remember, we got to always go back to what your long-term goal is, right? Well, if we know this is your long-term goal, then we got to work backwards, right? So let's work together. So that's kind of how I overcome those objections and that pushback, I guess. So.
And I think Kyle unpacked a few golden nuggets in there for our listeners. I kind of wanted to highlight. There was a couple things that spoke to me. Ryan and Thomas, as producers now, who have known me for many years and worked with me. One of the big things we obviously work through, and as any entrepreneur, business owner, really in general, is goal setting. I think is huge. Road mapping your path, your map to success and what that looks like. The other thing, which I really love that you touched on, is why. Those are why you're asking these questions, to uncover and maybe get on some of the tougher questions that they're going to do, is why are you doing this? Why are you in business? Why are you aspiring to be a business owner or fleet manager or grow into a fleet? What is your reason for being? Because it can't just be financially motivated,
Right.
right?
Right.
Otherwise, you don't get up at the morning and feel good about that. It's kind of like sports. I think that would transfer out of sports. Why do you work out? Why do you practice? Why do you play so hard unless you're Allen Iverson?
And
So
practice, coach. Just
yeah,
practice.
we don't practice. So I think that's great. I would love to hear a little bit more about you too as a person. I know that you're a father.
Yep.
You got a dad. What are some of the hobbies you like to do? What does outside of the work look like to you? I know you recently had made a comment to me, and I need to get back. You had asked about a camping spot that we went to, which was up at Beaver Creek at Gillette Lake. And
Yeah,
yes,
Gillette Lake,
it actually was up there. And
yeah.
Ryan, it's one of his favorite spots, and I absolutely loved it. We took our girls up there. We don't get out as much as I hate to admit, but we went huckleberry picking with the girls, fishing with them, caught a fish, paddleboarding, kayaking. They rode bikes. They were so dirty, like
Oh, yeah.
just a.
Camping.
It was so amazing. So tell us a little bit about hobbies and you as a person.
Yeah, so I'm a father of three. Married my beautiful wife Molly. Actually, we've known each other since we're 12 years old. So we grew up to middle school together, high school together, and just we just stayed connected. Of course, I've always loved her. Even though I didn't tell her until probably when I married her. But I've always had an attraction towards her, and she is the love of my life. So. I'll give her that. She puts up with a lot of crap with me, that's for sure. So
That's awesome.
Yeah. So my hobbies really, I still play competitive basketball. I still go down to the warehouse there, right across the street from Gonzaga there. Play with a lot of the old GU guys, Whitworth guys, Eastern guys. So I still try to play competitive basketball. I still play. How would I put this? Old man league. City ball. And so that's one that keeps me in shape. And I also shows my boys that I'm still actively playing basketball and I still play sports, even though I'm, 36 years old and they're 8 and 6 and 2, but there's that. But I'm very passionate about camping. I love being outdoors. I've always been outdoors my whole life. I do a lot of hunting and fishing. So I go up to Alaska every other year. My parents have property up in Alaska. So I do a lot of halibut and salmon fishing up there. And then around here, I do a lot of hunting for elk and mule deer and whitetail. I haven't got into like waterfowl or anything like that, or bird or up game or like that. But I strictly towards big animals. Yeah, it kind of goes back to, we go up to Beaver Lodge probably 4 times a year.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, I love that. It's just beautiful up there. It's a lot of hiking trails, a lot of, like you said, huckleberry picking and stuff like that. And my kids get to be kids, right? So I want them to enjoy the things that I got to enjoy as a kid, and that's being outdoors and not being stuck by a computer or a cell phone or TV or anything like that, because I think that's good for the heart, and that's good for our soul, that's good for our mental, stability, especially with this whole pandemic that was going on for this year and a half and still going on. I think it's really important that we're spending that quality time with our kids and our loved ones instead of sitting at a computer or on our cell phones and things like that. So there's that. I'm not into like the fixing up cars or anything like that. So really, my hobbies are just outdoors, hunting, fishing, and then spending time with my family is my hobby. And of course, playing basketball I can, or old man softball too, right? Slow pitch, doing that, beer league they call it, right? So
Yeah. Try not to pull a hamstring from plate to first.
those are my hobbies. That's the stuff I enjoy. I'm very passionate about it. So yeah. So
Man, I love it. I think you're probably speaking a lot of truckers' language too with the outdoors. And, one of the cool things that they get to do and unique is they travel to so many different places and beautiful spots where they can stop, take it in, and really enjoy what our country has to offer. And then there's nothing like them, obviously, when they are home. I'm guessing they're present with their children. And if you're not, you really need to be and really value that time to remember, why they are doing that. So, Ryan, you love Beaver Creek Lodge, right?
Oh yeah, Beaver Lodge is my favorite. I've been going there since I was like 4 years old. So
I've been going there since I was a little kid as well. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, honestly, my favorite thing about it though now is no cell phone service. It's just
Absolutely.
to be able to not have to use your phone and not even be distracted by it because it's not possible is just invaluable at this point in my life because I'm pretty sure my phone rings about 50 times a day at least.
Yeah.
We're all just packing around CBs using our,
Yeah.
our check yes or no handle and just like talking to each other in the cabins and shit.
Yes, everyone. Yes, I am.
Oh, that's so funny. That's awesome. Let's keep in mind the listeners and stuff like that. Maybe just one piece of advice you'd give someone when it comes to relation as their business and finances and lending? I think obviously with the market that we're in with equipment finance and stuff, that's probably a huge emphasis of a lot of these truckers, correct? What's some advice that you'd give them? What does it look like in today's landscape? What's on the horizon? What do you see coming down the pipe, especially with lower interest rates? And what does that look like in your world?
Yeah, the nice thing about credit unions is we have margins we can work with when it comes to our borrowers. So we're not set on, most banks are, they're set, this is what the rate is, this is what the term is, and that's what you get, right? With the credit unions, so the beauty about the credit unions is we're a not-for-profit organization. So what that means is, yes, we don't pay taxes on our property. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, whatever. But the taxes that we don't pay, that actually goes back to the members for interest rate wise on any type of loans, right? Deposit rates, so your dividends that you earn on your deposits, right? From CDs, from your checking accounts and things like that. And there also we have those margins that we can actually work with. So I would always encourage borrowers to really look at the life of the loan, right? So how much interest are you going to be paying for the life of the loan, right? So always look at that. That's really key to look at that. And then, of course, and where we're at of course, we're going to see inflation, right? I just know it's going to happen. We can't sustain this. So I would assume probably a year from now or a year and a half from now, you're probably going to see rates kind of climb back up to where they were post the pandemic. And so I would say commercial loans wise, you're probably going to be probably 5.25. And then auto loans from equipment loans, from auto loans for businesses, they're probably going to be high fours again, so mostly somewhere around there. So I would encourage right now, if you're looking at wanting to refinance any pieces of equipment that you have and you're paying a higher interest rate, refinance now because you're going to save your money long-term wise, interest-wise. So don't wait. That's why I would encourage people right now, don't wait thinking that this is going to sustain itself for a long time. It's not going to. We're going to see inflation. We're already starting to see rates increase a little bit on the commercial side, which then means it tells me that on the auto loan side or equipment loan side of things with P1FCU, that's going to increase a little bit as well. So don't wait if you're paying a higher interest rate. Refinance now. I'm telling people right now, the time is now to refinance to lower your payment, lower your interest that you're paying on any type of equipment loan that you have.
And use a credit union, particularly.
And use a credit union, that's right.
A follow-up question to that. So you're giving some advice on the equipment and some finance stuff. What are some of the other biggest pitfalls that you see some new business owners come across when you're talking about those business plans that you could advise that, they could take a moment to address before they go into a bank to help, increase their potential for funding and success?
I think one of them is looking at their cash flow. Especially if it's a brand new business. And again, I said this. We don't have any type of startup loan programs here at P1FCU. I would encourage them to look at the SBA side of things. So you have the SBA 504 program, the SBA 7A program. There's that. And I'm going to throw a shout out here. Mountain West is a great bank to go to for that. So there's always, and I know of quite a few people that work for Mountain West. So there's that. But I think for existing businesses that have been in business for at least a minimum of 2 years, I think looking at cash flow is a big one. B, I think a lot of people don't understand is their credit. That is huge, people don't understand how important credit is and where their rates are going to come from. But I think on the business plans piece is the bio. A lot of people don't put a lot of effort into that bio. And what that bio is more. It outlines to me and to our underwriters of who you are, how you're operating, and what are you trying to accomplish. And so I see in business plans, the bio is like this, but then their expectation is like this, right? That bio should really, really explain to us what your business is, what you're trying to accomplish, how you're going to accomplish it, right? So then we know that longevity is going to be really, the longevity of business is going to be there, not just a short-term type of business. So again, it'd be the business bio really is where I would spend most of my time at. So,
Kyle,
what does the percent of down pay look like for equipment with an established company that's working with you? And then do you loan against the equipment as the collateral and value, or you're taking all this into account as the underwriting portion and you'll loan, I guess in theory, you'll loan above what the value of the equipment is? How does that work?
Yeah, so when it comes to our lending piece, so any brand new equipment, we can actually loan up to 100% of whatever that MSRP, whatever that value is of that piece of equipment. On used equipment, we can finance up to 80% of that. And typically what we do, if there is a multiple of pieces of equipment that we're going to be using, we actually have an appraiser that's been in the industry for equipment, that is, not commercial like for property, but this is strictly equipment. He's down in Lewiston, and he's been doing it for, I think, 25 years. And so we actually will then, what we would get would be either the VIN numbers or the serial numbers, the make, model, things like that. And then that gives us a value, right? And then we either can go off the auction value. So what would it go at auction? Or we can go at what that market value is. So it really depends on, again, it kind of goes back to borrower, right? What their credit score is, how are they managing their business? Yeah, all that thing goes into that. So we can go up, so yes, 80% for used equipment, 100% for new equipment.
Okay, and what's the down payment percent look like, or the range look like?
Are you talking about
like 5% down, 10% down as far as cash to get into equipment?
No, so they would have to require to put 20% down on used equipment,
Okay.
and then the brand new equipment we can finance 100%. Now with that though, they still have to pay sales tax and things like that, but
Tax, title,
yeah,
license, all
exactly. We're
the
not
plates and
responsible
all
for that.
that.
They're
So
responsible for that. So
it's similar to an auto loan. I see this question asked time and time again in different groups that I'm involved in is, how much cash do I need to get into a truck or, that kind of stuff. That's kind of why I was just inquiring on that. So really
uh,
it's just loan to value percent. You're making up the difference, use 20% plus tax title,
yep,
interest,
yep,
all that kind of stuff. So,
yep.
man, that's awesome.
I was thinking of something. Hopefully, you can kind of break this down. I run into a lot of people. I mean, I feel like not everybody in our country has been financially educated on credit. And maybe I was hoping, because I'm sure you have a really good understanding of it, if you could kind of provide an understanding of how credit is used in the rating process and then kind of important aspects to pay attention to, maybe a good credit score that would like meet minimum requirements or average for to get you in the door. Just kind of explain. I know it's a little open ended, but I think
Right.
that it'd be really helpful for a lot of people.
I don't think there's not a there. I'm 36. I've been in the industry 12 years. I'm still understanding how credit works because there's no other, there's nothing that says that you do this and this is going to get, but I think to pay attention to is, there's a lot of people say don't do the 80-20 rule. And what I mean by that, don't use more than 20% of your credit cards out there, right? Of your balances and things like that. Keep at least 80%. I like that rule because that tells me that you're responsible. You're not going to rack up a bunch of debt, and you're going to have a hard time paying that off. So I always use that 80-20 rule when it comes to, having those financial conversations with a lot of borrowers. At least having, an open line is really important, really, because that is going to be your longevity. How long have you had credit history, right? Because a lot of people don't close their open lines of credits down. They keep them open. And so, making sure that you really have one or two of those that are open and don't have more than 20% of that balance out there, right? Another one, of course, is an auto loan. Making sure that they have an auto loan on their credit report, right? Because that's a fixed rate, fixed term. And then the other one is, and I know a lot of people don't have this, but a lot of people want to rent. Well, right now, I wouldn't be buying right now, but that's just me. But having some type of mortgage or some type of bigger loan on your credit report, because what that tells us then is again that you're going to be making that payment, right? You're going to be paying that on time because that's where you live, that's where you operate out of, and things like that. So I try to have people have at least two open lines on their credit report. One fixed rate term on there, and then one long-term loan, which would be more of a real estate option on there. And then it kind of goes back to that 80-20 rule on those open lines. Don't carry more than 20% of your balances on your credit cards because, again, then we know that you're going to pay those off each month. If you start going over that 50% rule, that's going to affect your credit negatively, and which is, we don't like to see that. Because a lot of times with people that have more than 50% of their credit cards debt or even lines of credits or whatever it is, they're usually coming back to me every year or every 2 years to do a debt consolidation loan to pay those off, right?
Right.
And then at that point they're getting tired of it, and they're closing those open lines down, which then affects your credit in a negative way because then there goes your history of your longevity of how your credit history. So there's that. And then we have on the business side of things, we have a minimum credit score at 640 or better. That's our threshold. That's our minimum is 640. We can work with that. So that's the minimum. And I think even on the retail side, it's like 590. So
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Which I'm guessing with COVID and the pandemic too, you're going to start to see some scores dip, unfortunately, because it impacted a lot of business and a lot of communities.
And a lot of people had to rely on those open lines and rack
Yeah.
up their balances and things like that. So yes, yeah. So,
Yeah, but I'm sure, well, and hopefully they're all working to pay those down and have a game plan and goals to meet those benchmarks and whatnot. So now, do you help some of your folks, or do you guys have a product that'll allow for business to business acquisition, merger acquisition type scenarios? Let's say a ranch would acquire another ranch, or a trucking company or construction company is going to look at acquiring another company.
Yeah, we do. So I'm actually working on a deal right now. It's a trucking company up in Cheney Logging up in Bonners Ferry, Idaho there. So he's looking at wanting to purchase another logging outfit, all of his equipment, his accounts receivables and things like that. So we're working with a gentleman right now for that, which I am, and that is. So yes, we do that.
Awesome, because that's something to aspire to, and I'm guessing could potentially be on the roadmap, especially of a fleet or up and coming fleet or entrepreneur that just happens to own a trucking company and got into this arena. We see it quite a bit. People are retiring. I'm not sure what the average age of truck driver is, but I'm guessing mid-50s at this time. And so you're starting to probably see a lot of retirement options come through the pipeline. So that's awesome.
The
Go ahead.
nice thing is, especially in Idaho, we have some programs out there like it's Idaho Collateral Program, where it requires them to put less money down to purchase that business. So there's that out there. Washington, as of I know right now, does not have a program like that. They typically would have to go through the SBA side of things. For that, but I know with Idaho, there's a couple programs they have to where we can actually not eliminate, but lessen their down payment to purchase that business or that fleet or whatever it is. So
awesome. Yeah, and I think you're correct on that. I'm not 100%, but I believe SBA is the common mode here in Washington, from what I've heard, or chatter from the trucking companies. So right on, man. Hey, Ryan, I know you have a good question you always like to ask. What is that? Let's ask Kyle that.
All right, yeah. So it's not that funny, I promise.
Just laughing for
really.
no
I think it's good to provide value, and I think that it's a really thought-invoking question. Like, if you could get one message across in general, not necessarily even business-wise, if you could broadcast one message to the world, what would that be? Like, what would you like to tell people that you think would provide value to their lives?
we live in this world where everything's this fast-paced, go. I think it's slowing down. I think, to me, it's being humble, being honest, and then just understanding. Stick to your plan. If you have a goal in mind, a goal. It doesn't matter, business, personal, whatever. Me, I have a goal in mind, right? And we get off tracks. We have different things that can get us off track, but stay the course, right? If you have a plan, stay that course. You're gonna get bumps and bruises along the way, but as long as you stay that course, I think you're gonna be just fine. So my thing is this, is being humble. Just sticking to who you are. Don't be somebody else that you're not, and then stay in course. And that would be my message out there. I live to that to this day, and I'm still gonna live to that, and that would be my message. So.
And that's no doubt why you've got to the point where you're at. And I think Ryan, Thomas, and myself can all echo that. Is the reason we end up working with a lot of different folks from all over the country, really, but is we are authentic, we're true, we're real. We treat them how they want to be treated as a human being. And we're not kissing their ass or trying to be something we're not to earn their business at the end of the day. We're really not. And we genuinely care, and we deeply care about the trucking industry. And I have a lot of family members that drove truck growing up, and likewise, your dad owned a ranch, and I think we all have backgrounds that connect deeply into that, so we're all tied in.
I think you hit it on the head right there. Is authentic, man. I mean, people can see when you're not. They really can. They can see when you're trying to force something down their throat that doesn't make sense. But I think being authentic is key right there. You hit right on the head.
Yeah, so. Truckers don't put up with that. they have a radar for that.
Amen to that.
Bullshit, right?
It is what it is. So.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome. Well, I know that, obviously we're close proximity, and we'll refer all of our clients over to you or anyone that's established that needs help. How can we have people get a hold of you? Do you want to share the best method of communication and where to look you up and all that good stuff?
Yeah, so you can go to our website, p1fcu.org, go into the business lending side. you'll see my information there. It'd be toward the bottom. I haven't worked my way up to the top of the page yet, I guess, so I got to earn my stripes. But
We'll help you.
yeah, there you go. But I'll be towards the bottom of the page, so it has my email address there. You can always reach me on my cell phone. I'll just go live here. It's 509-879-5292. Again, that's 509-879-5292. I can always drop off a bunch of my business cards, so you guys can have those. You can always hand those out if you want to. So
yeah, man.
The best way, to be honest, is either my cell phone or just email me directly. So
Perfect. Send a message, check yes or no. So you'll get a bunch of
Well,
yeses,
well,
yeses or no's.
That's
That's that cowboy Tinder. No, I love it, man. This is great, and yeah, I look forward to it. And thank you so much for hopping on, man. Is there anything that you want to share before jumping off here, Kyle?
If you're, one thing I know a lot of businesses right now are hesitant. They want to see kind of where the market's going. It doesn't hurt to have me look at your loans. It doesn't hurt to look at your financial picture. So I can always get, have you send me your financials. I can get you spread to see kind of where you'd be rate wise, term wise, without pulling credit, of course. So we can always get that spread first. Of course, we would need a pull credit to see kind of where your rate, where your credit score is at, and where your debts are at. But it doesn't hurt just to have me send me your financials, to have me get them spread, to see kind of where you're at financially, and to see if it makes sense to refinance it or not. So I always encourage people. Right now is a great time to just look at that piece. I encourage you to look where you're at rate wise and what interest you're paying long term, to see if we can shorten that and shorten your interest that you pay for that longevity of that loan. So yeah, just reach out to me if you're hesitant or on the fence. Don't be afraid to give me a call or send me an email and just to have me check. Right, that doesn't hurt. That doesn't affect you. I'm not pulling credit. I'm just doing you a favor and doing you a solid favor and helping you out when it comes to your loans and things like that. So.
And as a business owner, one of the things is a P&L and top line profit. And if we find ways and we can identify areas where you can put more money back in your pocket for the things that you care about, why you're running a business, that's why we're here. And likewise on our side, this podcast is driven by VTI or Valley Trucking Insurance. We try to keep the insurance portion out of it because nobody wants to sit and listen to that. But we are also identifying those things as well, and great partners, such as Kyle, and what you can bring as value to the industry and our clients as a whole. So, man, we really appreciate you coming on. Ryan, Thomas, anything last minute for you?
No, I just thanks a lot, man. We appreciate it. I think one thing that we should also broadcast to the listeners is, as far as the interest rates go, definitely talk to Kyle on the commercial side, but honestly, interest rates for your house or anything, look at all that. You can lower your debt right now because the interest rates are so low.
It is the time. I mean, I'll use me as an example. So I was paying last year 4.25%.
Which is good, right? That seems good.
Still good. But I dropped to 2.65. My payment went from $2,400 down to $1,950.
Wow. And that's cash flow back in your pocket to help you accomplish other things.
We're still going to make our same payment, the $2,400, but now we're going to pay down that a lot faster, which is going to pay less in interest. I want to retire at a certain age. I don't want to be paying my mortgage until I'm 80 years old. So, please don't.
And that'll get you out of the tent into a camper trailer, little pop.
I have a camper trailer, I guess I don't think it's really camping. I don't know. It's
glamping. Hey, once you do that, man, you don't go back. Waking up, sore back, sleeping, your air mattress is halfway empty, and you're on the ground.
Well, as you know, Cameron, I got 3 boys, and so we were tent camping, right? So we're packing luggage, their bags, sleeping bags. I can use my toes and my hands to count on, but I said, you know what, we're getting a camper. I'm sorry, we're getting a trailer.
I love it.
We can leave it in there. It's done. I can store it. Done. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, boys, I have two little girls. That's what I had to camp with. So me, I'm like, pair of shorts, t-shirt, fishing pole, and a gun, and like we're good, right? But to them, yeah, they've got suitcase, all this other kind of stuff, and it's like, oh man.
Yeah, I saw when you were camping in Cameron. I'm judging.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I love it. Cool, guys. Well, this podcast was brought to you. It's Get a Load of This Trucking Podcast. We'll put all the contact info, and actually we'll share links to Kyle and how to get a hold of him through the website and along with the Facebook group and everything. Like, as always, if you have any questions, if there's anyone you guys want to see on the podcast as a guest, please send them in. We're open to talking to anybody, anywhere in the country, as long as they're passionate about trucking and really do want to bring value and help. They're our guest. And hopefully you guys found some nuggets in here. I know I got a page of notes and really good information that Kyle unpacked there. So thank you so much for sharing, man. We really appreciate it. So
Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks,
Awesome,
Kyle. Appreciate it, man.
yeah. All right, everyone,
Well,
get
next
back on the road. Keep on
All right.
trucking.
You guys.
See you guys.
See ya.
Yes, out.